That day, while cleaning his bedroom, Dick discovered the bedsheet caught in the frame. He reached to pull it free, but accidentally jerked too hard. The frame gave way, and the heavy bed frame crashed down. He screamed desperately, but no one answered. Just as despair set in, familiar voices drifted in from outside. His cousin and girlfriend had returned. Dick was about to yell for help when he froze. What? They were getting straight into bed? As the mattress began rhythmic vibrations, his smartwatch detected his soaring blood pressure and automatically dialed 911.
What's your emergency?
Oh, God! Oh, God!
Ma'am, are you injured?
Yes! Yes!
I have your location. Help is on the way.
Yes!
Firefighters burst through the door to find the room filled with romantic music. The captain turned off the stereo, leaving everyone stunned. The atmosphere momentarily made the rescuers think they'd entered the wrong place. Then, cries for help came from beneath the bed. The firefighters quickly lifted the mattress,
My boyfriend?
revealing the unfortunate Dick.
Fiance, actually.
So you're the boyfriend?
No, I'm the cousin.
Wait, you're her cousin?
His cousin.
The firefighters swiftly rescued him. As for this complicated relationship, that's for the parties involved to sort out. Never seen such a crazy plan. David splurged on an antique guillotine just to experience the sensation of execution. The blade slammed down, nearly severing his head. His wife screamed in terror and immediately called 911. Firefighters rushed to the scene. The seasoned captain took one look and gasped. Thankfully, the blade wasn't fully sharpened otherwise. This experience would have turned into a funeral. David's life was undeniably resilient. Though his neck wound was gruesome, it hadn't severed any major arteries. Rescuers tried lifting the blade but found the century-old relic rusted solid. Despite their best efforts, it wouldn't budge an inch. His wife cried out his name while sobbing. Fortunately, David remained remarkably composed, cooperating throughout until firefighters retrieved cutting equipment. Just as they prepared to act, David suddenly shouted, "Don't touch it! That's my baby, an antique I bought with every penny I saved." The team fell silent, completely ignoring his protests. They proceeded. First, hydraulic cutters severed the frame. Then, spreaders pried open the gap. The jammed guillotine finally loosened and was lifted free. Medical personnel immediately began bandaging the wound. Fortunately, though long, the cut was shallow, and his cervical spine remained intact. He only needed hospital evaluation. Though his life was saved, David wore a look of utter disappointment, clearly not done playing with his antique toy. His wife was furious, threatening to toss the thing in the trash. Hearing this, the firefighters about to wrap up their operation turned and smiled. "Why not bring it back to the station?" they suggested. "It'll serve as a warning, a reminder to everyone never to treat death like a game." Charlie froze in terror as a deafening roar erupted nearby. A nearby train had derailed, triggering an explosion. A 10-ton carriage hurtled directly toward him. Miraculously, Charlie survived the impact. Trembling, he dialed 911, reporting he was trapped in his car. But when firefighters arrived, they found only train wreckage. The car Charlie described had vanished completely. Just as everyone felt helpless, the captain suddenly heard a faint horn sound. Following the sound, they finally discovered Charlie's car crushed underground by the train car. Firefighters quickly brought a camera and inserted it through the gap. The footage showed Charlie hanging upside down, his entire body wedged in the driver's seat. Though conscious, the firefighters' hearts sank. The opening was too narrow, the train too heavy, forcing a larger hole risked collapse. Then Mateo, a young crew member standing just 5 feet 3 inches, stepped forward. He volunteered to crawl inside. The risk was immense, but they had no other choice. The captain warned him over the radio, "If danger arises, evacuate immediately. Don't risk your life." Mateo donned his gear and crawled beneath the vehicle, finally reaching Charlie. Instead of forcing an immediate extraction, he first assessed Charlie's condition. A steel beam had pierced the bodywork, crushing Charlie's chest. Mateo strained every muscle to shift the beam aside. Only then could Charlie breathe. But the ordeal wasn't over. Charlie's legs were trapped beneath the steering wheel. To free him, the wheel had to be sawed off. Mateo exerted tremendous effort to sever the jammed point, only to discover Charlie had suddenly lost consciousness and his pulse vanished.
Mateo, look at his chest now.
He noticed Charlie's chest was swollen and purple, with a muffled heartbeat like it was submerged in water. The carotid artery bulged. Through the camera feed, the team doctor diagnosed it as fatal cardiac tamponade fluid compressing the heart. Immediate drainage was essential. Otherwise, the heart would cease beating. Mateo panicked instantly. He had no training in this emergency procedure, but with Charlie's life hanging in the balance, he had no choice but to proceed. Guided remotely by the doctor, Mateo first disinfected the chest area. Then, taking the largest syringe, He was instructed to locate the space between the fourth and fifth ribs and insert the needle at a 45-degree angle.
Gently pull the plunger. Does anything come out?
No, I don't see anything.
That's fine. We'll go in another quarter inch.
I hit something.
Okay, good. Stop there.
Moments later, he pierced the pericardium and drew out a syringe of pink fluid. The team doctor exclaimed triumphantly, "Success!" Mateo nearly wept as the fluid drained. Charlie finally opened his eyes and began breathing again. Overcome with emotion, Mateo cheered on the spot. Charlie was finally out of danger, successfully rescued. As he was lifted from under the car onto a stretcher, everyone breathed a collective sigh of relief. Just as the ambulance prepared to depart, Mateo ran forward and handed the paramedic a small car ornament. A small ornament symbolizing another life saved, representing a family regaining hope. This newborn had been in the world for just 10 minutes before being pushed to the brink of life and death by its own meconium. The first time parents wept, their eyes red. This was their first attempt at water birth. The infant still had a faint heartbeat but was barely breathing, requiring immediate resuscitation. The midwife noted the baby had spent very little time in the water, making drowning highly unlikely. The paramedics diagnosed meconium aspiration causing airway obstruction. When attempting intubation, they encountered significant resistance in the airway, confirming the meconium blockage theory. They swiftly retrieved a French size 5 catheter connected to suction equipment to clear the airway. Seconds later, a dark green, viscous substance flowed out of the catheter. Immediately after, the infant coughed violently, followed by a loud, clear cry. At that moment, everyone exhaled in relief. This newly arrived life had finally escaped the grip of death. Follow-up examinations showed the infant's breathing was stable and blood oxygen levels had returned to normal. Mike had barely finished bandaging his wounds when he urged his wife to take him home. His brief leave had made him long to return to the warmth of their home, but the near-death experience from last time left his wife, Sarah, highly tense while driving. She dared not even turn her head to talk, keeping her eyes fixed straight ahead. Seeing his wife still blaming herself, Mike hurriedly reassured her that none of this would have happened if he hadn't tried to surprise her. Sarah was once again moved by Mike's sincerity and instinctively looked at him. The very next second, the rescue team arrived swiftly. The officer handling the accident informed the fire department that the injured person had been staggering since entering the neighborhood, wearing medieval knight armor, possibly suffering from concussion due to the impact. He was disoriented and incoherent. The captain noticed two figures beside the injured man who seemed vaguely familiar. The helmet's visor was jammed shut by the collision and couldn't be manually opened. The rescue team used tools to pry it off. Beneath the visor, the man's lips were purple and his face covered in a rash. Team medic Amy quickly diagnosed carbon monoxide poisoning. Combining his attire and incoherent speech, the medic surmised a nearby leak source and potential additional victims. The dispatch center pinpointed the location mentioned by the man, a Western restaurant utilizing a rock oven through keyword searches. Unconscious individuals littered the scene, and carbon monoxide levels were skyrocketing. The captain immediately organized evacuation and rescue efforts, but the sheer number of victims overwhelmed the ambulance's oxygen supplies. Each ambulance could only transport 3 or 4 people. Even deploying fire trucks couldn't evacuate everyone.
I don't think we're gonna need that truck.
The team ultimately transported all patients to the hospital. A man poured a cup of water over his head. The next second, his entire body burst into flames, engulfed by intense fire. It turned out he was covered in aluminum iodide powder, which ignites violently upon contact with water. But what drove a police officer to choose such a painful end? His name was Raymond, an arson investigator. That day, they had just arrested the suspect in the textile factory fire, none other than Owen, the fire chief who had repeatedly risked his life battling blazes. The Texas Ranger conducting the interrogation happened to be related to Owen by marriage. The Ranger immediately played the sympathy card, claiming he would show leniency due to their family connection. Raymond, monitoring from the control room, immediately grew suspicious, suspecting the deputy was showing favoritism. A colleague reminded him that their sons were dating. Raymond expected the deputy to shield Owen, but instead, he abruptly presented crucial evidence, adding 8 new arson charges and claiming Owen was implicated in multiple fires. Owen insisted on his innocence, pointing to former firefighter Billy as the real culprit. The deputy remained unmoved, stating he only considered evidence, not excuses. Raymond sensed something was off. The constable seemed deliberately targeting Owen, despite their in-law relationship. Fearing a miscarriage of justice, Raymond seized an opportunity to enter the interrogation room, shut off the surveillance, and offered to help clear Owen's name. Just as he was about to obtain the crucial evidence, The constable burst in, interrupting their conversation. Raymond angrily confronted him, demanding if his opposition to his son's relationship was the reason for framing Owen. Cornard. The officer ordered him out of the interrogation room and continued questioning Owen alone. The officer informed Owen that a survivor of the arson had regained consciousness despite severe injuries. He urged Owen to plead guilty for a reduced sentence. Unexpectedly, Owen sneered, "Once that witness wakes up, Billy's the one who'll be in trouble." This reaction raised the officer's suspicions. That night, the real arsonist infiltrated the hospital to silence the witness.
Freeze! Hands in the air!
The truth finally emerged. Raymond was the real serial arsonist.
Oh, and you're wrong. I love that my boy's with this kid.
After failing a promotion and losing his wife, Raymond's mental breakdown led him to seek pleasure in arson. He orchestrated 10 fires, but Owen's unexpected involvement disrupted his plans. This interrogation was actually a trap set by the constable and Owen to force Raymond into revealing his true nature.
You took the most important thing in the world from me, and now I am going to repay the favor.
Raymond calmly doused himself with water and was instantly engulfed in flames. His final words carried a sinister warning, causing Owen to suddenly realize something was terribly wrong. He immediately notified the fire department to evacuate everyone. Just as they rushed out the doors, the entire building exploded. But Owen soon discovered Raymond's vengeance extended beyond this. The true target was their son. The fire spread rapidly. The fire station's destruction delayed rescue efforts. Raymond's ultimate plan. Fortunately, Owen had sensed the deception. Leading his team, they charged into the inferno with fire extinguishers, fighting a path through the flames. They successfully rescued 2 teenagers. The crisis was finally averted. That night, everyone could finally sleep soundly. A giant parasite burrowed into John's body, its body tearing through his abdominal cavity. When the fire department arrived in response to the emergency call, they found John curled up in agony. The captain quickly had him lie face down for examination. Buck's inspection made him gasp in horror. The parasite's head had already broken through the skin. John begged for immediate removal, but the captain insisted on professional medical care at the hospital. Fearing the parasite would retract into his body, John insisted on on-site extraction. Buck began carefully pulling the worm out. It turned out John had deliberately implanted a tapeworm to achieve a perfect physique, consuming his body's nutrients. He didn't realize this creature would multiply relentlessly until the host died. After a prolonged tugging process, the entire parasite was finally extracted. Buck's face flushed with the satisfaction unique to completing a mission. Earlier, John had lied to the captain, claiming his abdominal pain stemmed from eating sashimi. But his partner Joe, standing nearby, revealed the truth. John had actually suffered persistent abdominal pain for weeks and exhibited strange behavior in the bathroom every night. John insisted he was fine and counter-accused his partner of infidelity, pointing out they hadn't shared a bed recently. Just as the captain was about to conduct a thorough examination, John's symptoms suddenly worsened dramatically, leading to the opening scene of horror. Jack offered $100 million to buy old Milton's shelter. Milton flatly refused, stating, "Only when I'm dead."
Milton!
Just moments ago, Austin issued an emergency alert. A massive asteroid would strike the city in 56 minutes. Panic instantly gripped the entire city. Only Milton was ecstatic. The shelter he'd painstakingly built over years would finally serve its purpose. As he busied himself organizing supplies, a neighbor's family suddenly rushed in, crying and begging him for shelter. Milton refused without hesitation. After all, they had mocked him when he first built it. Now their fear was too late. He slammed the door shut. The family knelt, begging him to at least save their little daughter. Milton feigned hesitation, though he'd already decided to let them in. His earlier refusal had merely been venting, but just as he reached for the handle, a sudden, excruciating pain gripped his heart. He collapsed instantly. The neighbors immediately called 911. Firefighters rushed to the scene, finding the shelter's structure impenetrable, its doors resembling fortress gates. The rescue team decided to breach the perimeter. They cut a hole in a weak spot, inserted oxygen tanks, doused the area with gasoline, and covered it with sandbags.
Fire in the hole! Cover!
A deafening explosion tore open the breach. Milton was successfully rescued. The team medic immediately used a defibrillator to restore his heartbeat. Milton slowly opened his eyes. Ironically, his shelter had been destroyed before it could even be used. That day, Firefighter Mateo had just gotten a new tattoo and was proudly showing it off everywhere. His colleagues gave him subtle looks until Mateo shouted Guardian Angel. Only then did they notice the spelling error. It was meant to be angel, but spelled as angle. Both colleagues struggled to stifle their laughter. Now, who would point out the mistake to Mateo became a dilemma. Just then, Mateo dashed over to the horizontal bar area to show off, leaving the two colleagues fuming. Coincidentally, colleague Marjan passed by. They hurriedly asked her to admire Mateo's new tattoo. Marjan initially gave a perfunctory compliment on the design. Seeing something was off, Paul quickly hinted for her to look closely at the spelling. When Mateo repeated the misspelled word, Marjan's eyes widened instantly, seeing through Paul's attempt to pass the buck. That evening, as Mateo prepared to upload a selfie, Marjan finally delivered the brutal truth.
It's spelled Angel.
Right. And that's why I wrote ANG. Oh. No. Guardian Angle? Nah. How could I be so stupid?
Mateo broke down upon discovering the spelling error and rushed back to the tattoo shop. He had the mistake covered with a flame design, finally resolving this tattoo crisis.